Muy buenos días para todos. Hoy les damos la más grata bienvenida al tercer día de nuestro sexto simposio internacional de formación de educadores, SIFORED 2021, al tercer Congreso Internacional de Red de Departamento de Ciencias Básicas y al sexto Encuentro de Ciencias Básicas. Hoy tenemos en nuestro tercer día y vamos al cierre de este evento. Tendremos la siguiente franja de ponencias a nivel internacional. El día de hoy nos acompaña el profesor Anatoly Oleksiyenko. El profesor es asociado en educación superior y director del Centro de Investigaciones de la Educación Comparada CERC de la Universidad de Hong Kong. El profesor Anatoly tiene un doctorado en educación superior de la Universidad de Toronto. Su investigación se centra en todos los dilemas de gobernanza y liderazgo en la educación superior a nivel internacional. Sus estudios han sido publicados en diversas revistas líderes en el campo, como son Higher Education, Studies in Higher Education, Minerva, Higher Education Policy, Higher Education Quarterly. Su último artículo, o uno de los artículos más representativos del profesor Anatoly, sobre los hombros de los gigantes en ciencia global, asimetrías y recursos y reposicionamiento de las universidades en investigaciones en China y Rusia. El profesor Anatoly recibió el premio al mejor artículo en el 2016 y su libro Global Mobility in Higher Learning recibió el título al mejor libro por recibiendo el premio al International Students in Study Award en el 2019. Recientemente se ha publicado una investigación crítica sobre el Global Marketplace y también ha examinado los dilemas de los diseños y transformadores en la educación superior en volúmenes coeditados. También el profesor Anatoly ha tenido grandes investigaciones sobre la Soviet legacy en China y Rusia, higher education, human vulnerability, la libertad de expresión, la libertad para enseñar, libertad para aprender y la crisis en educación. Entonces, sin más preámbulo, le doy la más grata bienvenida al profesor Anatoly en su charla, la cual nos va a estar acompañando en esta última franja, titulada Developing Capacities for Critical Inquiry, Innovative Thinking, Insights from the Master Education Program for Hong Kong. Professor Anatoly, welcome to our event. I'm really happy that you accept our invitations and the audience is yours. Thank you very much.
Buenos dias. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be part of your international conference. I'll be happy to share my experiences. And if anyone of you might have interest and they would like to kind of make a question or statement, if I see more of them really appearing in the chat, I'll be happy to stop my presentation sooner and begin to answering your questions. Meanwhile, I'll just begin to share my screen and launch my slides. Just to begin with my topic, which is on experience in developing capacities for critical inquiry and innovative thinking in Hong Kong. So I'm one of these founders of this specialism, which was launched 10 years ago. I also worked as a director of the Master of Education program for 3 years. And now I continue my role as a coordinator of the Master of Education with specialism in higher education. So I'll primarily look at the development of our Master Education program from the perspective of the higher education specialist. So in my presentation, I'll primarily address several of these points. I'll look into the history of the Hong Kongese higher education system, and then I will zoom down to the level of the program, and we'll speak about how our program emerged, and also we'll share some of the important issues for our program, given that we are at University of Hong Kong we are in the research intensive environment. So research is very important for us. And so research has also become a very important issue for studies at the master degree level in the field of higher education. And also, I'll tell you how we celebrate success in general. So Hong Kong has a long history. Hong Kong has the British heritage, and the city is very dynamic. If you had a chance to be here, you would definitely know how efficiency-oriented, how technology-oriented the city is. And you can see these older pictures of Hong Kong. Hong Kong has always been very advanced and focused on modernization. And the current city of Hong Kong is becoming even more complex. So in terms of higher education, the University of Hong Kong has been was the first university in this jurisdiction. It started with 3 faculties initially: arts, engineering, and medicine. Now we have 10 faculties. And as you may probably know, we are a little bit more kind of sophisticated type of the system of higher education, which includes a good number of universities that are ranked quite highly in Times Higher Education. In this table, you can see that among 8 governmentally funded institutions, at least 5 were in the ranks, high ranks in the last ranking table reported by Times Higher Education. So, and as you may kind of also, if you look at the criteria or scores that the Times Higher Education system shows, the international aspect and the focus on international students has been a distinctive feature of universities in Hong Kong. We also paid a lot of attention here to research, and Hong Kong, my university has been at the top of the ranking among the universities ranked in this jurisdiction. So we are proud of our success in research, but also we can see that the evaluation made by peers, international peers, evaluating our ability to teach, also see us doing quite well in teaching. So the scores in teaching are also quite high. So we also have this system that emerged over the last 100 years. You can see some of these universities were like emerging a little bit later after the Second World War. And then the opening of these universities actually stopped with the transition of Hong Kong to the People's Republic of China. And then we have also established quite a number of colleges. Sometimes we call them community colleges, but in most cases, these are self-funded private institutions. Some of these institutions aspire to become private universities. And the public universities that are mentioned in the left column also has a range of sub-degree schools or colleges. So the system is quite complicated. And as far as you can see, that system requires a good number of professionals to manage different units in finance, administration, in development of research projects, accounting for research projects, as well as teaching support and learning support. So the growth of the higher education system indeed called for a greater number of these professionals and a better support to these professionals. I will now just focus more on the Faculty of Education as one of those kind of units within this world-class universities like University of Hong Kong. We have been proud to be ranked among top 10 schools. The most recent ranking table shows that we are number 6, sharing this place with Tsinghua University, which has been rising quite quickly and successfully over the last 5 years or so. And you can see that in general, again, we are distinguished by our international outlook. We have a very large number of faculty members who come from outside of China. People like myself have colleagues from other parts of the world, the US, UK, Portugal, South Korea, Canada, and many other places, countries of the world. We also, as you can see by our capacity in doing research, we also are quite good in producing a number of influential publications in the world. That gives us kind of a position. In the picture by this table, you can see our distinguished administrators who stand there in front of celebrating the centenary of the Faculty of Education. So the Faculty of Education is pretty much as old as the University of Hong Kong. These distinguished administrators do a great job, but also they do it because they have a great personnel working for them. The people who support their work, the deans and department chairs and managers of various important departments are able to recruit high quality personnel, executives, as well as administrative assistants who can do an excellent job in supporting the quality of work in academic departments, as well as in these service units. And this pretty much gives opportunity for the whole faculty really to do work efficiently, as well as to have constant kind of feeling that we are supported, we are well cared of, right? The dean pays particular attention to that philosophy of care, the attitude which creates a supportive environment where administrators and faculty members feel good and want to contribute to the development of the institution as such. I think this is a very important issue to kind of bring to our attention about when we talk about the effects created by professional learning and the efforts that we make as those who contribute to professional learning, that we really have to develop these attitudes and philosophies that we're taking care of others, paying attention to favorable governance, to good spirit inside these institutions really contributes to great performance of the whole faculty. The program of Master of Education is almost 40 years old now. It was established in 1978, and it's a program that is of academic character. And the program primarily focuses on giving support to educational professionals in different fields of competence development, in different fields of education, from kindergarten to primary schools, to secondary schools, to universities and colleges. On the right, you can see historic tweet that our community of higher education made some almost more than 10 years ago. So that indicates that the first intake into the higher education specialism of the master education was taking place almost 10 years ago. So we are celebrating a decade of our continued contribution to the development of university and college professionals in Hong Kong. But we are not only contributing to Hong Kong. Our alumni hail from more than 15 countries, including such countries like Japan, Cambodia, Malaysia, Russia. I'm just kind of thinking about the closest neighbors, but the largest number of our alumni come definitely from mainland China, as well as from Hong Kong. So we are engaged in cross-border education and international education, and that international profile that you could see in the world class university ranking table was quite well deserved, I think. So what about the program structure? So how we are structured? The program requires to obtain 60 credits to get an award of the Master of Education degree. And we have two tracks for those who, on the one hand, we have students who really know what they want to study and in which specialism they want to develop themselves. So university managers and college managers in higher education who come, they definitely choose the specialism of higher education. We have other specialisms such as English language education, mathematics education, and development of different specializations at the level of school education and school administration. So, however, we also have that generalist strand where students make the decision about where they want to be employed after graduation. So they often come from some of these non-educational fields, such as technology or accounting. They come from businesses, from commerce, and then they decide to re-educate themselves, reskill themselves, and become educationalists. So for specialists, we, as well as for generalist strand, we require that they have a compulsory course which focuses on general issues in education, covering the broad spectrum of various issues and challenges faced by educationalists, education managers across all sectors. And in this course, students also begin to learn how to do research, how to work with data, how to collect data, and how to analyze data. At the very end, you can see the 12 credit capstone, which means that when they begin with compulsory core course, which focuses on educational issues as well as on educational research, they are expected to produce a research project by the end of their study. So they would usually go back to their workplace. They would collaborate with some institutions and they would contribute to the development of these institutions by giving them answers to some of the problems that they face in their institutions. So these students, while they study, they do theoretical work in the program. They also work on a very specific research project which addresses needs in a particular institution. In between, you can see some choice between making the specialist courses and some electives, or taking electives only, right? So for those like higher education specialists, they would have to take 4 specialist courses in total of 24 credits. And then they can also go across other specialism and take their courses as electives. We also provide some electives, offer some electives which change from year to year based on what professors do research on, what they might really want to teach on, because that somehow is based in their expertise or their special interest. So they offer these electives, and students can enroll. And if the number of enrollment is good, then the teacher can teach the elective course. However, below you can see the generalist strand can, the student in the generalist strand can take only electives, right? Just kind of, the menu can be as diverse as they wish. But in the end, as I mentioned before, everyone has to do the capstone project, which is a research project and which requires knowledge of methodology in terms of how you collect data and how you analyze data. So in higher education, as I mentioned, we do focus on providing the cutting edge knowledge on leadership, team building, international and cross-cultural communication, problem solving, complex data management. We understand that the modern university manager has to work within a very complex type of infrastructure with sophisticated technology, addressing the needs of students coming from different backgrounds, dealing with different pressures and issues, including mental health, for example. So, the modern manager has to be philosophical enough and well-educated in different aspects of sociology, economics, political science, management, comparative education, and so on. And this particular specialism provides that type of multidisciplinary perspective for university managers, professionals, and emerging teachers. So the 4 courses here that I'd like just simply to give a brief outline of these courses. We have comparative higher education policy studies, which looks into major themes such as system design, access and equity, quality assurance and accountability, privatization and financing, student experience and employability, critical inquiry and innovation, ITC and distance learning, autonomy, governance and management. So students who come from different countries then choose a particular system, and they focus and they work in groups to analyze these systems, compare these systems, and thus learn from each other, as well as from the literature in terms of how they could compare the data. And we provide them with skills in terms of what is comparable, what is not, where to look for the right type of unit of analysis, and so on. And this course, each course is 24 face-to-face hours. So we organize them in 3-hour classes from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. because we have part-time students as well as full-time students. But given that we bring full-time and part-time together just for more experienced students to provide better support for those students who are emergent scholars and practitioners of higher education. We want them to work together rather than separately. Then another course is on globalization in higher education. It looks into the currency of these tensions that emerge with the global marketplace. The focus is primarily on China because China has been a very successful case in absorbing all types of new methodologies and technologies and creating a quite successful economy and progressive state in many ways. So in that regard, globalization provides an interesting kind of case analysis looking into the Chinese experiences. We also have the two other courses which look into micro level perspectives. The higher education leadership course, for example, primarily looks into the variety of leadership styles and how they apply to specific roles and responsibilities of academics and managers in a variety of jobs that they have to do. And besides then, theories of organization and strategy of organization provide students with the modern idea of what is academic organization, how it is different from the government or business or civic organization, and what organizational culture may be in different types of universities and cultures. Overall, as I said, the students have primarily work from 6 to 9 in 24 lecture. Each course has 24 hours of lecture, but in addition, students are expected to do a lot of self-managed type of research, exploration, and peer-to-peer learning. We admit students from a variety of backgrounds, but there are some major requirements that some hurdles that they have to overcome in order to be able to qualify for the admission to the program. So they need a bachelor degree, and usually now we don't admit everyone. That the competition for a place in the program is quite kind of rigorous. We have 4 or 5 students per 4 or 5 applications per place in the program, and students also have to show good facility of English. The score of 550 would be required for TOEFL. The system is now being changed. It's at 80 or above, according to this new format, internet-based test, or in the band of 6 for IELTS with no subtest lower than 5.5. So in general, each specialism then also regulates the admission process by an additional layer of competition. In our case, we want to have only students who can show that they would be able to pursue a career in a university or college. So we have a written examination as well as oral examination in addition to these initial requirements. So besides, the program in Hong Kong is not that inexpensive. Let us say over the years, the fee has been increasing. We don't differentiate between local and international fee. So the program fee in general is 168,000 Hong Kong dollar, which is approximately over 20,000 US dollars. Plus, students will have to pay an application fee regardless of whether they will be admitted or not. So here, I just kind of spoke briefly about the structural perspective of the program. Now I'll just kind of, I want to emphasize what makes the whole environment exciting for students. in addition to those educational requirements or lectures, you could see that the pictures from the classes are pictures of those situations where students can interact, do case studies, work together in small groups. Unfortunately, this has been now just impeded by the pandemic, but at the same time, we are still hopeful that that type of interactive learning will return to our classes in the coming years, given that we have zero incidence rates at the moment for the last 2 months or so. So we are hopeful that we will be having more of these interactive classes in the coming semesters. However, having said that, we are also aware that some of our students who come to a research-intensive university are very ambitious types of students who want to pursue a higher degree. So a good number of them actually want to apply for a Doctor of Education or Doctor of Philosophy or after they graduate from Master of Education. So in order to create that type of exciting environment, we definitely wanted to make it more interactive beyond the regular classes. So we wanted students to be part of the research community. And for that purpose, the environment within University of Hong Kong, within the Faculty of Education, is pretty much focused on how many seminars, research seminars we do, how we create innovative forms of interaction and so on. Let me briefly just mention some of them in this presentation. So one of them was initiated by a senior scholar who I showed a little bit earlier, just at the front of this picture, Professor Chen Kai-min, who was a senior scholar and the leading scholar in educational policy development, and he was a senior administrator at the level of the provost before. So he launched a very exciting type of summer institute, which brings together university administrators, professors, developers of various educational enterprises. He brings them to Hong Kong for the summer. And then we become engaged in providing some of these classes, but we also engage our students from Master of Education program so that they kind of have a chance to interact with these senior people who come from other countries and who learn through case study based type of format and develop some knowledge products that aim at improving services, education in their country. So in a way, students in the classroom just move to these other venues that exist in the vicinity or in the same buildings, in the same territory, and can have this interaction with the important others who are also adult learners, and who also show that, that why they come to Hong Kong, what they want to improve in their program is really meaningful, and these students then kind of only enhance that type of thinking about that, that what they study is really an important type of education they receive. We also invite our colleagues from other universities who have visiting professorships. Over here on these posters, I present only the webinars that we organized over the last year. We have a lot of these webinars, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, for example, you will definitely see, you will be updated about the webinars that we provide in collaboration with the scholars such as in Poland, Professor Marek Kwiek, in Poland, the UNESCO chair, and a prominent scholar focusing on scientometrics. That was an exciting seminar we had, engaged in many of our Master of Education programs, program students. We had scholars from Michigan State University sharing their research on commercial rankers, and a colleague from University of California at Berkeley, Igor Chirikov, also shared his research on conflict of interest and how it can distort global university rankings. So students from our program have interaction with these scholars, can ask questions, can learn about the newest research. The scholars also tell them how to do research and so on. But most importantly, too, that we invite our alumni back, like in the left on this side. Okay, on this side. Carol Chan, who is director of the EMBA program, Global Asia program, was sharing recently with us her experience of managing this very popular and very sophisticated MBA program, engaging participants from multiple continents. We also had our alumni, PhD holder and currently professor at Shenzhen, in Shenzhen at Southern University of Science and Technology, Ma Jinyuan, who also talked about entrepreneurial university. We also collaborate with the incubator called iDendron on our campus, a very successful enterprise with the very interesting team of managers who also shared experience with our students. So the students can get engaged. And besides, as director of Comparative Education Center, I just launched recently the journal, which is called Academic Praxis, which you can see if you visit our website for CERC, Comparative Education Research Center. You can see that our students begin to publish there. So some of these Master of Education students who wrote their final essay at the level of A+ were invited to publish their essay in our journal, right? So some of and I then kind of shared these publications in my network. So students become then known for their work. They're quite proud of what they do. And that moves me to the last section, which is about celebrating success in Hong Kong. All students are quite happy to be recognized for their work, for their excellent work. One of these excellent students from Uzbekistan, Andrei Khojev, who just got who was on Dean's honors list, shared it proudly on LinkedIn, and he deserved it by all means, and he was absolutely amazing student. And you can see also below in other pictures that these types of celebrations are quite ceremonious, but sometimes are quite informal when students when alumni get together, and I have a chance to ask them about their careers, ask just get their advice on what might be needed for the profession, and what they might advise me as a director of this specialism in terms of how I improve the whole thing, the whole program. So in the long run, just these are some small kind of testimonials coming from some of our students who emphasize how important the whole experience was for them. One student says, I have experienced a noticeable shift in my learning abilities. After being spoon-fed for years, the students suddenly realize there is a better way to be engaged with the new knowledge. The student from Hong Kong says, after taking this course, he realized what is critical thinking, and he understood that there is no definite solution to any problem encountered. And sometimes these kind of managers sometimes get frustrated about trying to be efficient and trying to resolve the problems, but they suddenly, once they kind of begin to realize the larger world and become more critical, they become more relaxed and more tolerant and more receptive of these other ways of doing things, of listening to others and so on, listening to these other important stakeholders who might have been ignored in their systems, in their institutions, in their cultures, right? So in a way, the whole program creates a type of aspiration, I would say, that one of the students wanted to build a new university in his own country, and says for that purpose, he was taking the whole program to understand how the world-class university really works and what is really important for the whole structure and culture and the whole idea of the university. So, we are happy to celebrate, students as much as having some of our best faculty members below. You can see below, who are also happy to share some of these joys of learning with their students, as much as they kind of learn from the joys of their students. So all this is probably, if some of you have more interest in what I was telling and would like to read more on the subject, please read chapter 7 in this wonderful book by my colleagues about the change in academic profession in Hong Kong. I wrote about the how to enhance university staff capacities for critical inquiry, and it's available on ResearchGate. You can download it for free. If you have any problem with that kind of site, please feel free to write to me, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. So at this point in time, I'll probably stop here. I want to thank you for listening to my presentation. And if anyone has any questions, please just tell me. Thank you.
Professor Anatoly, thank you very much for your interesting speech. It's really emotional to hear and to know another experience for academic programs in Hong Kong. First of all, Professor, let me know, what time is it there in Hong Kong?
It's 10:43 p.m. So it's a 13-hour difference between your place and my place.
Okay, Professor, we have one question here in the chat, and it said, Professor Anatoly, besides the requirements, are there special ones for foreign students? What do they need to enter to the program?
Yeah, we don't really specify a separate a set of requirements for international students. These students are considered to be very valuable for Hong Kong. We know that we learn a lot from internationals. Local students from mainland China really enjoy interacting with these other cultures. So, from that point of view, we see internationals or international applications as really valuable. Otherwise, we'll just look at those initial requirements. I mentioned these scores for English, because English is the primary language at our university. In the city, you will probably be expected sometimes to speak Cantonese, but frankly speaking, 80%, 90% of the population speaks English very well. Besides, students who come to our university all speak very good English. So English is very important also for academic literature, for writing good essays. So we just pay attention that English is really something that becomes really important for learning and for graduation within the Faculty of Education and the University of Hong Kong. Definitely, the university provides other kind of opportunities for those who want to study Chinese, either Cantonese or Putonghua. So they also provide these opportunities for the learners. However, I would say that we are very intensive programs. So just kind of a lot of time really goes to studying those complicated issues and theories and strategies in higher education, for example, which unfortunately leave very little time for these other experiential opportunities like learning languages and so on. But at the same time, most of my colleagues say, you don't overload them with these kind of academic requirements. Just tell them that, just they have time just to go to beaches, enjoy the sea, go to the mountains, walk in the trails, because they have to learn about Hong Kong, not only as an educational place or educational structure, but also that as a society which has these unique environments and infrastructures.
Thank you, Professor Anatoly. Professor, as you know, the main topic of our event, it has been to know and to learn and to listen to different experiences from different universities around the world during or after this pandemic. I would like to ask you, how was the challenging and at the same time the impacts of all of this pandemic in students, in the academic society in Hong Kong, and how is it going now to coming back to accept the international students? What are the main challenges facing this post-pandemic window, if we can say it now?
Thank you very much. That's an excellent question, and it's a very difficult question to answer at the moment, as you might also be experiencing at this particular time. We still have a lot of ambiguity about the whole development and the future. Some of the expert sharings, suggestions tell us that we might be living with this virus for maybe forever, or maybe for a very long time, right? So we have to rethink the way we organize the whole learning process. We at our university were very quick in terms of moving to the web-based platforms, very quick, and at the same time we didn't have any complaints from our students, given that in most cases they understand that they have to complete this program. We are at the postgraduate level. It's very different from undergraduate level, in fact. So because in postgraduate program, most of our students are professionals who spend most of their time outside of campus. So in a way, some of them were even excited to have the web-based, the internet communication, rather than to spend their time on travels to campus, right? So they see that as a positive moment. However, we also have a part-time students who were coming from undergraduate programs, finished them, and then they moved into the postgraduate program, but they still remember the undergraduate experience where they were still, just engaged with campus quite a significant amount of time. So their expectations are a little bit different. So they miss a lot of these types of face-to-face opportunities, and they require a different way of guidance and solicitation of their needs. So, but at the same time, I would argue, even I see among the students in who had undergraduate programs experience only, that they primarily think in new terms as new generation who belong to the internet to the virtual space and become more engaged and successfully engaged with the virtual space. So they don't actually feel that they are separated in some way. In the Chinese culture, we still have, in the Chinese culture, there is still this peer-to-peer communal relationship, which plays a significant role. And so students might be missing a lot of that type of communal interaction. But as far as I can see, many of them continue to really redefine the educational space and restructure it in a certain, from the perspective of being connected on WeChat, on other, on Moodle, on the university platforms, email, and so on. So I don't see, or I don't really hear these expressions of regrets or complaint a lot. These regrets actually emerged immediately when the pandemic began. The students were frustrated about this huge change. And some were arguing that this was unfair, that they were charged full fee as before, because they didn't have the same kind of campus experience. So they felt that they had to be paying a lesser fee. But over time, they realized, in fact, that this type of new learning, new interaction gives them some advantages as well. So they have more flexibility, and they save more time. And so from that point of view, at least this is kind of my impression about this. And some of the, I'm just kind of drawing these conclusions on the basis of some of the communication that I have with my students. But I don't see a lot of that type of frustration that we would expect with this change of the formats of learning. So that's pretty much what I can say at the moment. The future, we are still hopeful that we will be probably returning to the classroom, because I just kind of, in the preparation of my slides, I was looking into the old pictures, and I looked into how this, and I just kind of, my memories were just kind of, just my memories suddenly woke up, and I just remembered how I interacted with the students in the classroom, and I remembered emotions among my students in the small groups, presentations, how they laughed at each other's work, were supportive, we had fun, and so on. Suddenly, all that disappeared in the electronic space. There is nothing of that we can kind of reproduce in the same way. However, some of these new students don't have that experience that students which studied my program 5 years ago had. So they have no base for comparison. That's only I who can make that type of comparison, not them. So I don't know. That's kind of a difficult type of question to reflect on, but that question pretty much can urge us to think about, in terms of new gains and new losses as well. So the gains and losses are not really that simple or understandable enough.
Okay, Professor Anatoly, thank you very much once again for sharing all your experiences. It's really emotive to know that also we undergo, let's say, the same difficulties. And at the beginning, as you said, pretty much the same happened in Colombia, that we didn't know for how long it will take. And we were expecting that, okay, we will just leave this or go through this episode for a few months. And we didn't know that it will take such a long time. And at the beginning, as you said, they were really frustrated to not undergo the experiences at the campus. But but depending on according the level, they are also taking the consideration to say, okay, this actual mode is more flexible. We cannot spend so much time wasting time in, for example, hitting the traffic jams or going in cities to cities. So this is really important to know. Professor, once again, thank you very much for accepting the invitation for Antonio Nariño University here in Colombia. We are really pleased to know and to hear from you, from your experience. And I would like to invite you for further opportunities to share with us and to work, why not, in, for example, research as well.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you very much for giving me this chance to kind of to reflect on these experiences as well as share them with you. So I very much appreciated this opportunity this time. So thank you very much, Marta. So it's a great pleasure to meet you in person and just communicate to colleagues who are listening. So thanks again.
Thank
and
you
have
very
a
much.
great time and safe time. Just hopefully your programs really thrive despite all these types of challenges that exist now in the pandemics.
Thank you very much, Professor. Muchísimas gracias a todos por atender esta charla. Los invitamos amablemente a participar a las 10:30 de la mañana en la charla final del decano de Educación de la Facultad de Educación de la Universidad Antonio Nariño y seguido del acto de cierre del evento. Muchísimas gracias a todos los asistentes y que se encuentren muy bien. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you. Gracias.